Good morning, everyone. My name is Sira Buetis, and I'm joining you from Concierge Home Care. I'm serve on the DCCI task force. That's the Dementia Care and Care Initiative for North and Mid Florida, and we are so happy that we can be here, present this long coming expo to you. We had great plans of presenting it in person, but due to the changing times, we have the opportunity to do it virtually by Zoom. So that is a great privilege for us to be here with you. I am going to share with you the innovation that is happening with dementia care here at Concierge Home Care through home health and through occupational therapy. And I will be sharing a PowerPoint with you as such. So bear with me as I pull that up. Sam, could you tell me if you can see my screen? There you go. I think we got it. There you go. There we go. So I would just also want to extend a special welcome to my parents who's joining us from South Africa, which would not have happened if we had an in-person presentation on a site. And now that we have it on Zoom, they could join us all the way from South Africa. So welcome to my mom and dad. And as a matter of fact, my mom was really the inspiration to me trying to create a technique, a method that will help us reach our persons living with dementia as well as serve our community better. So we are going to talk today about the Boats memory method, and that's actually my last name, Sira Boats. And as occupational therapist, I have realized that we can do better with our persons living with dementia. And I set out to create a method in which our therapists can approach dementia care in the home, but also in facilities, and help redefine dementia care one person at a time, creating a resource that can be used by families, by healthcare professionals, actually by anybody that is a care partner and involved in the care of our persons living with dementia. So in the face of dementia epidemic, which we are seeing more and more numbers of dementia being diagnosed, and this is actually going to increase over the next few years. We just know that healthcare practitioners, care partners, families are under-equipped. There's just not enough resources in our communities to increase our knowledge and our skill so that we can successfully interact and serve our persons living with dementia. And we have a saying here at Concierge Home Care, my co-creator and founder, Josh Gervais, which I'm very thankful to, and he's joining us today as well as a observer, that collectively we are more intelligent than we are one person singularly. Together with our knowledge and with our passion, we can just do so much more to impact our landscape. And as such, you know, the Dementia Care and Cure initiative is such a wonderful opportunity for different partners out of the community to come together and collectively come up with resources and roadmaps and ideas to implement into our community so that we can be more dementia friendly, so that we can elevate the dementia IQ in our communities, and just so that we can serve those persons living with dementia better, allowing them to participate as a valuable person in the community. And I think that is what each and every one of us are looking for, is being valuable. And what does that look like for a person living with dementia? Our goal here with Boats memory method and Concierge Home Care is to go into the home or into the facilities and empower our caregivers, our families, by equipping and supporting them, by providing them information that they can use even when we leave, even when we are discharged that person to the family or discharge that person to the facility that they live in. We want to make sure that we leave resources, tangible resources behind that can be used to improve the quality of life for that resident. So we go in and we provide knowledge and skill and then the practical tips to better serve our persons with dementia. And the big picture behind is that we want to keep our persons living with dementia safe and independent for long as possible in the environment that they choose to live in, whatever that may look like. How do we connect our persons living with dementia with functional activity, with the things that they want to do and they like to do on a day-to-day basis? Keep them engaged and keep our health partners engaged with our persons living with dementia so that we can improve the quality of life. And that's our big goal here at Concierge Home Care. So as I said, my name is Sira Botes and I'm an occupational therapist. I've been practicing for 26 years. I've been in home care for about 8 years. I started my occupational therapy life as a certified hand therapist. When I transitioned to in-home care 8 years ago, I quickly became very passionate for our persons living with dementia, and as such, I became a dementia specialist. And here you have my beautiful mom in a picture, and this is our brochure that you can actually access online through our website that talks a little bit about how to care for our persons living with memory loss and dementia. I like to call it neurocognitive decline. What does that look like for your specific person or for yourself? And how can we support you in the home? So professionally, I have worked with many persons living with dementia in my career. And then personally, I have been immersed in my mom's walk with memory loss, as well as my grandfather, who passed away after 2 years of being bedridden with Alzheimer's disease. So this is something that's very close to me, and Concierge Home Care has really set out to help redefine dementia through pouring a lot of resources into the approach that we created, a very unique approach. And as a home care company, we are really at the forefront of providing excellent dementia care to our communities. Concierge Home Care is really leaning into training all of our employees in this approach, so that when we go out as a team, that we can together address the questions and the deficits, the problems that our persons living with dementia may have in a much better and a much more quality way. Here is just a little overview of what we do when we go into the home and we come to serve you. We developed a method, a platform of capturing information about the brain function, and we call that executive function, as it relates to function, the actual activities that a person does in the home. So that's the method. Our mission through that is to create a language, a platform that our families, our person living with dementia, our care partners can connect with. A language, so to speak, that can connect us with each other as far as our expectations go for our persons living with dementia. So through this method where we analyze the executive function, we have created flower levels of neurocognitive ability. And through these flower levels, we teach our care partners and our families how to interact, how to engage with that person, how to set up the environment, and what needs to happen for that person at that flower level to keep them safe and to keep them as independent as possible in their environment. Starting at the lily level, which is the highest level of cognitive function with some early memory loss, going all the way through the daisy, the violet, the rose, and the bouquet level. We also, through what we call transforming communities, we are hoping to impact everyone that may touch our persons living with dementia. In other words, if they were to be transported by a first responder, by ambulance to the hospital, how can we empower that first responder to know how to connect with that resident and how to support that person all the way through that ambulance ride to the hospital? Getting to the hospital, how can we teach our emergency personnel to receive that person well and to support them at the correct cognitive level throughout their hospital stay? And can we have that information, that flower level approach, follow that resident, that person, all the way to rehab, hospice, long-term facility, and then back home? And the idea behind this is to support our person living with dementia, support their cognitive ability with our approach and with the interventions that we provide at a consistent level. Because what we see is if our person living with dementia go to the hospital, that they typically have a decline, because sometimes they get chemically restrained or they get physically restrained because they have acting out behaviors. They don't understand what's happening. Once they're sick, that illness impacts their ability to understand, to respond. So they may present with behaviors that the hospital personnel or the first responders don't know how to deal with, and therefore they are restrained. And that's what we want to prevent. We want to provide a language platform for the community that empowers us and elevate our dementia IQ, but allows us to know what can we expect from a Lily dementia person, or a Daisy, or a Violet, or a Rose, and what do I need to do to support them so that they can be successful, whatever that may look like, whether they're living at home, or if they're in an ambulance ride, or if they're at the hospital, or in a long-term rehab facility. And that's what we're setting out to do, redefining dementia together as a home care company, but then empowering our communities through providing resources and education, just as we're doing here today. So let's talk about what is the Boat's memory method and the memory bouquet. We talked a little bit about the ability that we may have as communities if we have a language platform and expectation of functional engagement for our person living with dementia. And if we can provide the right approach and the right interventions, that not only would we increase the quality of life for our person, but we will decrease the burden of disease for the caregiver or for all care partners involved with the care. So the first step that we would do here at Concierge Home Care to provide a resource for our community, the very first step is the occupational therapist's analysis in the home, where we look at the functional cognition. This then leads us to be able to capture the executive function in a staging process as it relates to function in the home. And based on that information, we then develop a care plan that will allow all our care partners to make decisions for our persons living with dementia and to provide interaction that is appropriate for that person. So the analysis is the Boat's analysis of functional cognition. Exactly, it's the name reflects exactly what we do when we're out in the home, and that is analyzing cognition as it relates to function. That brings us to a flower level that helps us make better decisions on how to provide appropriate interventions for the person living with dementia. And this allows us to leave the family, leave the person, and also provide to the care partners, the doctors, the CNAs, the private duty personnel, provide them with an individualized recommendation, a physical one-page sheet with highlights and recommendations to help empower the care partner and improve the quality of life of our person living with dementia. This also, the Alzheimer's Association recommends that our persons living with dementia as some type of cognitive assessment every 2 to 4 times a year. So that can be every 3 to 6 months, in order to make sure that there's not a decline, in order to make sure that we continue to provide the interventions that's needed for basic things. Is our person able to connect with their basic ADLs like dressing and feeding and toileting, brushing their teeth? Are they able to know when to drink water? Do they know to prepare a meal and when it's appropriate to eat? Can they take their medicine? What does that look like? Can they get to appointments? Are they able to engage with joyful, fun activities in their day? If not, why not? And how can we support our persons living with dementia? And that's where we come in to try and identify where is that stumbling blocks, looking at the strengths that our person has, compare that with the challenges, and then come up with a strategy based on those flower levels that will best work for this person. And we're very excited about this method. It is unique to Concierge Home Care. We believe it's the first dementia approach and analysis for occupational therapists out there. And Concierge Home Care, as I said, has really adopted this into the fiber of our home care practices to really deliver optimal care for our communities out there. So here we go. We do the cognitive strengths and weaknesses assessment through the BOATS analysis of functional cognition. We look at what is that person's ability to perform activities, to connect with necessary activities on a day-to-day basis in the area that they live in right now, meaning this is not the paper-based test we perform at the doctor's office. This is not the interview style where we kind of guess where we think this person may be at. This is a in-person physical approach, and really looking at what our person with dementia is able to do in the moment that they are in their environment, and then relaying that information in a way that makes sense to all of our care partners and our families. So this is a list of everything that our occupational therapist will look at when they try to assess and support you in the home. So it's a very extensive assessment of the executive function of our individuals and how that is expressed in activity. Once we have captured that information, combined with some standardized testing that's out there, like the MOCA, the GDS, the Allen, combining that information, getting a good picture of this person's ability to connect with function, is then related into a flower level, which we touched on a little bit, meaning is this person at the very early onset memory loss path, which would be a lily? Is this person needing a little more help, a little more structure, routine, which would be a daisy? Is this person someone that needs 24/7 supervision, help setting up of their environment, some verbal cueing to keep them on track, which may be a violet? Is this person someone that really needs maybe some hand-over-hand assistance, regular cueing, and step-by-step involvement in order to be successful, which would be a rose? And then we get to the end-stage dementia support. When we talk about a bouquet person, which this person is not able to express any of their original personality, likes, dislikes, they are bedridden, and they are 100% dependent on their caregiver to help maintain their quality of life. So this is a little overview of what this means, this language that we've created. So a lily of the valley is a person hiding in plain sight, great social graces, able to communicate well, able to respond to questions. They can pretty much hide their struggles, their memory loss, because they are so intelligent, and they can express themselves and they can communicate well. They are very appropriate for living at home still. So we have up here their ILF or ALF, just meaning that if they are in a residential facility, they may be appropriate to live in independent living or an assisted living, but they can do well at home and they may still be able to drive. A daisy is a bright ray of sunshine. A daisy can still express all of their talents, all of their abilities, the things that they like to do, but they need some routine, they need calendars, they need reminders, they need somebody to keep them on track. At this level, we will not recommend that somebody drive independently anymore. They may get lost easier, they may get easily overwhelmed in a new environment. This person may still do well at home, maybe inserting a couple hours of caregiving by a family member or by a paid caregiver a day, just to make sure they have everything they need to stay on track. This person may benefit from a from a GPS tracker or an alert system, so that if something happens, they have quick access to emergency response. Our next flowers are violet. This is a beautiful, simple, beautiful, deep purple violet. If anyone has African violets or have ever taken care of them, you know they're finicky, persnickety, somebody told me. They need just the right amount of water, just the right amount of light. And the same goes for a dementia patient that's at the violet stage. They need a lot of TLC. They can still express some of their needs, but they're unable to connect with activities successfully and consistently. They need guidance, reminders, set up, and somebody to check in on them to make sure they're on the right track. This person would do very well in a memory care setup, but if they have someone at home that can give them 24/7 care, they will blossom. Our rose level is a more advanced dementia stage. I call it our resident that's kind of closed in on themselves, our person or patient that doesn't really, they're not really able to express themselves verbally anymore. They cannot interact, or they cannot start an activity on their own and be successful with it. They don't really know what activity needs to come next, what they need to do next. They may wander around the home. They need somebody really there 24/7 that helps to set up meals, helps to set up baths, helps give them their medicine, but also someone that talks slower, that gives them one-step directions, help with hand-over-hand assist to get them going with the task, somebody that can keep them on task. This person is our high alert person. They may choke, fall, wander away, get lost easily. So that's our rose level. And then the last level is our bouquet level. And this is where our person living with dementia is really dependent on a full-time caregiver. They don't do anything on their own anymore. If they're not bedridden, they need support to transfer to a chair. They cannot do it on their own. They don't talk anymore. They're really dependent on a 24/7, 100% caregiver. They will do well in a skilled nursing facility in memory care, and highly recommended hospice at this point to help decrease the burden of care on other caregivers. So we have a wonderful quote we like to use from Dr. Shirley Klassen, which is the OT chair here in Gainesville. And she has a beautiful quote: "Dementia may steal your mind, but it won't steal your heart." And here at Boats Memory Method and Concierge Home Care, we absolutely believe that with the right approach and with the right analysis, we can capture the strengths of the mind as well as the key to the heart, and empower our communities and our caregivers and our care partners to really interact and connect with our loved ones and help them stay on track and stay healthy. So this is just a little summary of what you will see if the Boats Memory Method was to come into your home or into the facility your loved one live in, to do a analysis and to capture information about their function. This is a quick snapshot of the abilities that your loved one may have, as well as the struggles, as well as likes and dislikes and the keys to success. How do we emotionally connect with your loved one so that we can help brighten their day, and so that we can set the stage for success for their day. So we are coming up to 5 minutes before the end of the presentation. So Basically, what we're trying to do at Concierge Home Care and through Boat's Memory Method is creating a roadmap to success for everybody involved. We want to provide you with a resource and the support that will allow you to know how much can my person still learn and what does that look like? How can I communicate with them and what can I expect from my person to communicate back to me? How do we use that to support our person? Can they follow instructions? What does that look like? How do I have to change that in order to still allow my person living with dementia to be involved and to be successful? And then as far as physical improvement goes, what does that look like? And how can we change things up to allow them to still be physically involved? I would love to share something with all of you. This is a wonderful graph that was created by the Cleveland Clinic that does a lot of brain research and is at the forefront of providing resources, practical resources for brain health. And this is a wonderful little graph that gives us all hope, because there are things that we can do to support our brain health and to prevent and to decrease cognitive decline. So the number one thing here is exercise. 30 minutes of aerobics. It can be sitting in a chair. It can be movement to music. It can be anything to keep our heart rates up. 30 minutes a day. It can be broken down into 10 minutes or 5-minute segments. Anything to increase the oxygen to our brain. Our brain is an organ, the same as our hearts and our lungs and our muscles and our joints. And if we increase oxygen to all of those pieces of our body, we are improving health. So that's the number one researched item that will support brain health. The second thing that I love to talk about, food, nutrition, and hydration. And we will end with that slide because I'm very passionate about it, and I want you to think about it and to remember it. So we'll come back to this, to the food nutrition segment. Medical health, very important that we support our challenges such as cholesterol, diabetes, oxygen, if you're on oxygen, to make sure that you keep your oxygen levels up. Sleep and relaxation. Healing happens when we sleep. Our brain increases oxygen and blood flow when we sleep. Sleep is so important. 8 hours for an average adult is recommended. And there are different things we can do to sleep better. So if you're not sleeping well, you can contact me for ideas about how to sleep better. You can go online. There's lots of resources. You can talk to your physician. Melatonin is a natural remedy that is at our fingertips and that may help all of us. Mental fitness, that's talking brain games. That's talking any type of challenge that you can engage with. That can be word puzzles, that can be coloring, painting, that can be difficult dance movements to music. That can be puzzles, anything that can be knitting, crocheting, that can be woodwork, anything that you engage with where your brain has to use different pathways. That's mental fitness, and that's so important for all of us and for our dementia patients. Every day to engage in at least 60 minutes of meaningful activity, whatever that looks like. So if we can connect our persons living with dementia every day with 60 minutes of meaningful activity, we support their brain health. And that's where occupational therapy is so valuable, to find out, well, how can we do that in the environment that our person lives in. And then social interaction. We've seen this with COVID. If we limit social interaction, we are limiting the feel-good hormones in the brain that all of us need to survive and to thrive. We need to build time into our day to connect with the people around us. We need to hug and touch. That is what releases the hormones we need. And COVID has really elevated our need and highlighted how important that is for all of us. So lastly, before we move over to questions, and we have 1 more minute, is water. Listen, there's a few things we can do to support our brain health that doesn't cost a thing. That is exercise, social interaction, sleep, and then the other thing is water. 6 cups of water, 6 to 8 cups of water a day for a small adult to support our organs. 8 to 10 cups for a medium adult. 10 to 12 cups for a large adult. That's what the minimum water we need. And if we do not have that, we get dehydrated, we get confused, we fall, we get dizzy. We need water. I cannot stress it enough. This is one of the things we will do if we serve you or your loved one, is teach you on the principles of the 6 pillars of brain health, which is what you're looking at right now. And then nutrition. There's a couple things you can add to your diet that science has proven to help us support our brain health. So healthy oils, such as fish and nuts, coconut oil, olive oil, avocados, berries, green vegetables, leafy vegetables. We talked about water, and then there's 2 fun things that I love to hear. One is coffee, caffeine, and the other one is dark chocolate, cocoa. Anything above 70% content of cocoa will support brain health. So with that, I hope this has given you a little bit of hope into dementia. We hope to pull away the curtain of dementia and let a bright light shine into the lives of our person living with dementia, letting them know that we can do better. There are ways out there in which we can support you better, and it may look different for different persons, but here at Concierge Home Health and Boat's Memory Method, we believe that we can connect you and your loved ones with a resource through the flower levels to succeed and to live a very happy and healthy life. And that's what we want to do, is support our persons living with dementia as long as possible, as independent as possible, right where they're at, so they can be safe, strong, healthy, and engaged. And we are opening our floor to some questions. And I want to just see here. I know there was a couple of questions. Are there still more questions? I thought I saw some questions here. Let me just see if I can open it up here on my end. Chat, there was 4. So let's see. Somebody said, I love that you're focusing on what your persons with dementia can do. Yes, that's a big part of what we do, is we want to figure out what are their strengths, how do we highlight and tap into their strengths. Then I have somebody here that said the Healthy Brain site includes a free brain checkup. Somebody asked, could you provide a tip on how to motivate others with dementia to get up and move? You know, my go-to is music. Find the music that your loved one, connect with. My dad knows I love 80s, my mom and my dad. There's a couple of songs out there. St. Elmo's Fire is one. If my dad hears that, he knows, he thinks of me. And I bet you when I get to that point, when I get more senior, that if I hear St. Elmo's Fire, that's going to connect with me emotionally. So what music does your loved one connect with? Use that music to get an emotional connection, and then see if you can get them to clap hands, to get them to move. If you just can get them to move their arms above their head, that is increasing the heart rate and increase oxygen. Also, how about it's a lovely day to walk outside in the garden. Let's go see the new flowers, or let's go look at the sunlight, or let's go look at the butterflies out in the garden. Anything that they connect with. Or maybe you say it's time for coffee. Maybe they love coffee, but we're going to walk out into the garden and we can have our coffee outside. That way we can encourage a little bit of movement outside. What about having music in earphones and walking outside while you're listening to music? So that will come some of the tips that I use in order to get our persons living with dementia to move. Of course, if they love water and you can safely get them on the shallow end of water and you can have them move in water during the summer times, that's absolutely wonderful as well. Does anybody have any other questions? We have 10 more minutes to go. I have some pre-recorded questions, those questions sent to me, and I'll go over those. The first one was, what do we do to get my loved one this resource, the Boat's Memory Method resource? That is through Concierge Home Care. It's 100% covered for Medicare recipients, as well as some of the larger Medicare replacement plans. So all you need to do is talk to your physician or your referral ARNP, nurse practitioner, and ask them that just let them know my loved one is cognitively struggling in the home with whatever it may be, medication or connecting with a fun activity or dressing or bathing, whatever it may be. Or I have a hard time to get my loved one up and moving and exercising. And ask your physician to send a referral to Concierge Home Care. You can go to our website at conciergehomecare.com or to Boats Memory Method. .com, www.boatsmemorymethod.com, and through that you can send me email request or questions. Also, you'll see all our locations, and your physician can then send that referral to us, and any person that with a diagnosis of dementia qualify for in-home services. So that's the one answer we've had. Now, one question, I'm so sorry, I think we had, let me just see. Somebody else may have sent another question. I just want to make sure. There you go, there's a link if you click on your screen on the chat box, you will see there is a link in there to the boatsmemorymethod.com. Thank you so much, Renee, for putting that up there. The other question I've had is, how has this method helped someone? Do you have an example of how can it help a loved one in the home? We have had so much success with just empowering our loved ones and giving them tips on how to connect with the person living with dementia. A quick story is of a gentleman that was at the Rose level, a younger gentleman that lives in a facility, and he became very combative when anybody wanted to bathe him. The caregivers were so scared of him that they would get 3 people to get in there to get him into the shower and out of the shower. When our occupational therapist went into the facility and worked with the gentleman, we realized that if we approach him in a very calm way, one person at a time, and we give him one-step direction. So we don't go in and say, it's time for a shower, we need to get you up, and we're going to get you undressed, you're going to go to a shower now. We broke it down into one-step cues. Introducing ourselves, having a face-to-face conversation where we connect with our eyes, where the person can see us and recognize us and know that we're there to connect, to talk to them and to engage with them. And then just simply asking, I need for you to stand up. Do you think you can stand up with me? That would be one step. The person would stand up, and then we would say, do you see the bathroom? Let's walk over there. That would be the next step. So we walk to the bathroom. There's the toilet. Let's use the toilet. It's time to use the toilet. And the person would go ahead and use the toilet. And once on the toilet, he could see the shower. And the next step would be, it looks like you're soiled. How about we get in the shower? Well, at this point, the person could see soiled, he could see the shower, and it made absolute sense to him that a next good step would be a shower. We also have had opportunity to connect with persons with emotional connections. One person that I remember vividly, a gentleman that wouldn't let anybody change his underwear or his pants, and we were able to figure out that he loves dogs. And so we brought a live dog in for him to talk about and to touch. And we brought him into an emotional place of just happiness and well-being and having a good connection. And once we got him to a place where he trusted us and he had a good experience, he was able to take the next step again with the right verbal cueing and with the right visual setup to walk him step by step through, first brushing his teeth, then using the toilet, and then going into cleaning his perineal area and dress into clean clothes. And where this process before had caused behavioral outbursts and aggressiveness, we were able to do it with joy, and he walked out with a big smile on his face. So just finding those keys to the heart, and then knowing what flower level this person can receive instructions on For a Lily, for instance, we may just have some reminders and a good calendar and some alarms to remind them. For a Daisy, we may have some visual cues on the microwave or on their on their washing machine or on their mirror in their bathroom, to just keep them on task and to remind them of things that absolutely has to happen and when it needs to happen. So we have different tricks to help successfully engage our residents and our patients with the tasks around them. We also look at visual perceptual abilities. So for instance, with a Violet, we are not going to have a vanity all set up with all the tools that they like to use. That type of clutter is too much for a person at the Violet level to find the tool that they need. So if I go into a bathroom of a Violet and they have a brush and a comb and lipstick and toothbrush and a tube of lotion and maybe there's several toothbrushes because there's several family members who use that bathroom, and I have sitting out there maybe some medications. When my Violet walks into the bathroom maybe to brush their hair, they will be unable to find the brush in that clutter. But now I can tell a caregiver, when we take our Violet into the bathroom, make sure that you only have the items out that they will need for that task. If you want them to go into the bathroom and brush their teeth, all that should be out is toothbrush and a toothpaste. And you're going to walk your loved one up to the bathroom and say, it's time to brush your teeth. The loved one will be able to see the toothbrush, see the toothpaste. If they need help beyond that, you can first see if they can help themselves. If not, you will ask, can I help you? Then proceed to give them the toothbrush with some toothpaste on it. Ask, does that look good? Help them to connect with that toothbrush, and then they should be able to perform the rest of activity. But this is the way in which we teach the caregivers and loved ones how to connect and how to properly set up the environment so that our persons living with dementia at these different levels can connect with activities. The same goes with activities that brings them joy. Can we set up woodwork activities differently? What type of puzzles can we set up? What should that look like? Should it be a large 20-piece puzzle versus a small 50-piece puzzle? Should it be a simple coloring page with just 3 adult coloring pencils, or is this somebody that can choose from 20 pencils and have a very intricate coloring activity? So being able to just provide the loved ones and the care partners with some structure on how to allow their person to be successful, that is what we're hoping to achieve. And I think we have run out of time. We are at 11:58 according to my watch. And I will allow the next speaker to take over. It may take us a minute with the digital switch from me to the, actually we are at 12 o'clock, we're switching to the virtual expo, to the advertisements, and you can see the sponsors, you can see services and resources. So for the next 2 hours from 12 to 2, we are going to switch to our virtual resource window. And then at 2 o'clock, we would love to welcome you back to listen to 2 more speakers that are going to have valuable information about resource and dementia care in our community. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you here tomorrow as well.